Hello again. There are heartening signs that the British government, like that in America, realise the danger which the forces of militant Islam pose to the Western world. I say this because, of course, the RAF was in action yesterday, bombing bases in Syria of those militants who might be planning to reform the caliphate, which existed there a decade ago in Syria and Iraq, the so-called Islamic State. The hour is late, but better late than never, we might say. The United States, having lately accomplished a swift change of regime in Venezuela, have hinted that they are ready to repeat the exercise in Iran. This would cut the head off the snake and deal a mortal blow to the various Islamist forces menacing the Middle East, Africa, and Europe. Older viewers will be aware that 50 years ago, Islam was no more than a curiosity in this country, and also, indeed, in most of Europe. It was not something which one heard about, and certainly it had no more influence in the West than, say, Hinduism or the teachings of Confucius. We knew about such things, but they had no effect upon our lives or our countries and didn't affect our day-to-day existence. It is difficult now to imagine such a pleasant state of affairs where Islam wasn't even a thing that we thought about. And yet, until the 1980s, this was indeed the case. Then something happened which changed everything. This was the fall of Iran to the forces of an extreme and violent form of Islam. This was Islamism, the belief that Islam was not merely a religion, but should also be the pattern for civil society too. That if only all the world's nations could be persuaded or forced to adopt Islam as their religion and also their political system, then the result would be the fulfillment of God's will on earth, the ushering in of a new era where God and not men ruled the earth. This idea had, of course, been popular in medieval times, but had fallen out of sight in the modern world. Certainly, none of us in Britain, the United States, or Europe were familiar with such a strange mindset, and few people had even heard of Sharia law, God's law on earth. I think it fair to say that this has all changed now. There are probably few people in this country who are unfamiliar with the concept of Sharia. This is entirely due to the establishment of the Islamic Republic in Iran. Since it was Iran which established this notion in the modern world and aggressively promotes it through armed force via its proxies in Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and so on in the Middle East, and also in Africa and Europe, it seems reasonable to suppose that if we can somehow dispose of the Islamic Republic, then its various proxies might wither away, bringing peace to places as far apart as Nigeria and Lebanon. American support for this change is vital, just as it was in Venezuela. I know that some viewers have been a little ticked off with me over the last few days because they feel that I am criticizing President Trump and the United States. But that isn't at all what I've been doing. I'm simply speaking about things plainly and without beating about the bush, and this often causes offense. When I said yesterday that America had invaded Venezuela, a number of people denied this and told me this was simply the surgical removal of a dangerous leader, and that the United States had no long-term ambitions to conquer the country. This is absurd. If you use your country's armed forces to bomb another nation, remove the leader of that country from power, and then announce that in future you'll be running that country, then that is an invasion and conquest. Describing it so doesn't mean that I disapprove of what was done. I actually think it's an excellent scheme. It means rather that I prefer to speak in a straightforward fashion about what is going on, rather than dress things up with a lot of fancy words. It is just the same with Iran. President Trump has said that he's prepared to step in there, and the only way that could be done would be by military force. He would then wish to see a pro-American leader installed, and the old Shah of Iran's son would be a perfect fit for that role. I am all in favour of this and would welcome it. Talking about things in this blunt way, as I say, puts some people's backs up, for which I am sorry. However, I am a great fan of the American president and feel that he is helping the world move in the right direction. I just don't feel the need to disguise this or to dissemble by using a lot of weasel words. I think it's much better to talk about what is going on openly.